What's up, everybody? I'm going to do a quick recap UFC Vegas 72. Unfortunately, I did horrible. I went 3-11. Pretty embarrassed is what it is. I looked too much into some underdogs. A lot of underdogs hit, not the ones I picked. I banked on some pretty heavy underdogs before the card started, and I think that's what my problem was. And yeah, there's 3 fighters that made their UFC debuts on relatively short notice, and they all won. So yeah, I was probably a little bit biased. I probably wrote those people off just because it was on such short notice. And yeah, I don't know. For the future, I just need to really look at the matchups and not take that into account, because anybody can win at any time in the UFC. So yeah, well, let's just go over real quick. The one I did get, though, which I'm pretty proud of, at women's bantamweight, was Irina Alekseeva, the Russian Ronda. Ended up missing weight by 4 pounds. And she's a pretty heavy underdog. She's about plus 200. And women's bantamweight, I know you have to go with those big underdogs, and she got it done. Got a knee bar in the first round. So, yeah, kind of a sloppy fight, but, you know, just couldn't put all that money in Stephanie Egger, and she got it done. And especially since she missed weight, it's kind of a shoo-in at women's bantamweight. So, yeah, got that one. Another big one I'm upset by that I was going back and forth on was Cody Durden and Charles Johnson at flyweight. I thought Cody Durden could have done what he did, and he was just able to get those takedowns for a little longer than Charles Johnson was able to piece him up for, if that makes sense. And yeah, Charles Johnson just looked like a little stuck in the mud, and he had his moments in parts of the second round and the third round. First half of the third round especially, he was piecing him up pretty well. He was able to stop those takedown attempts. He stopped about 3 of them in the third round, but at that point, Cody Durden was already up 2 rounds, and he was able to get on Charles' back, and Charles just seemed like not very interested in getting him off his back. It seemed like he wasn't urgent enough, and Cody Durden was just able to get that riding time basically, and was able to threaten a rear naked choke, land some decent ground and pound. And yeah, Charles Johnson defended decently, but Cody Durden still had his back. So yeah, man, that's a tough one for me. Cody Durden was a slight underdog. In the future, you just got to go with the slight underdog, you know. So tough lessons had to be learned. But, yeah, let's kind of get into it. The prelim main event at heavyweight, Martin Buday and Jake Collier. Martin Buday got it. He won. I got that one right. I just liked his forward pressure. I thought he'd be able to outstrike Collier, which he pretty much did, certainly by the end of the third round. In the first round, Jake was landing a flurry with some hooks and some overhands, but Buday landed some kicks and some uppercuts, and then Jake was landing some jabs on the counter, though. He looked good, but then Buday clinches, then he kind of falls off of balance off a kick, and then Jake took his back. So first round, pretty good first round for Jake. But in the second round, Jake landed a flurry, and then he clinched him to the fence. But then Martin landed some knees to the body with the collar tie, and then he landed some hooks with his back toward the fence, and just kind of started piecing Jake up a little bit. And then in the third round, Martin started turning on a bit more. He landed some uppercuts in the clinch. Jake had the underhook clinch. He landed some knees, but then Martin's looking for those counter uppercuts as well with his back against the fence. And then Jake misses the body lock trip attempt, just like he did in his last fight. So I picked that up pretty well. And then Martin was able to land some nice ground and pound at full mount to end the fight, and Martin ended the fight with a big exclamation mark. So got that one done. Buday, slight favorite, but it was worth it at heavyweight. So felt good about that one, but wasn't too big of odds. First fight on the main card, Josh Quinlan and Trey Waters at welterweight. Trey Waters stepping in on pretty short notice, like a week or something like that. And Josh Quinlan, I just looked like he would be able to find that knockout shot. Trey Waters, honestly, when I watched the tape, I didn't realize how long he was. I didn't realize the size difference between him and Josh Quinlan. And he just looked, you know, when I watched the tape, he just looked okay. And I didn't like the short notice, and I thought Quinlan would be able to find his chin eventually. But Waters basically just kept him at bay. He was so much longer than him, so much bigger. Kept him at bay with that jab and those leg kicks. Quinlan could just not find his way in there. Quinlan had to put 3 or 4 punches together just to get to him, and Waters was piecing him up every time. In the first round, Josh got the clinch. He tries to rush him with hooks, but they're too short, and then he's kept that range. He eats some jabs and some counter crosses when he's coming in, and then he eats a cross off of his step-in leg kick he was going for. He got a little frustrated, you could tell. Then the second round, Josh landed a lead left hook, but then Waters was landing some jabs and some 1-2s whenever Josh was kind of darting in, trying to get to his chin. And then Josh landed a few leg kicks toward the end there, really started. And Josh was starting to get to him. It seemed like maybe he was going to be able to get that third round knockout. Then in the third round, Waters landed some right crosses. Whenever Josh rushes in, he hurts him with the straight right. And then Josh just abandons the calf kicks completely. And same old. Trey Waters kept him at bay with that jab. So, yeah, really good performance from Trey Waters. I don't know what this means for Josh Quinlan, but Trey Waters just fought a very smart fight, and there's really nothing else to say there. Huge size difference. So he's 6'5", and I didn't take that into account. So, yeah, lesson learned on that one. Then the second fight on the main card at heavyweight, Marcos Rogerio de Lima taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta. This was the big one that I had circled before the fight even started. For Waldo Cortez as an underdog, plus 160 at heavyweight. I thought he was on a streak. I remember Cortez was landing the leg kicks in his last fight. It was the complete opposite. Marcos Rogerio kept him at bay and lit him up with some leg kicks. And, you know, low-level heavyweight, and I went with the surging underdog, but Marcos Rogerio de Lima has got power, and his leg kicks made the difference in the fight. In the first round, Lima was landing some hard leg kicks. He gets clinched, and gets clinched to the fence, and then he's able to get a back trip around the back. He was able to take him down relatively easily. But then Marcos lands some body kicks and some straight rights whenever he gets clinched. And then the second round, Lima landed some leg kicks, and he wobbled him. Then he's able to complete that double leg off the fence. And then Waldo, he's able to check some of the kicks, and then he lands some 1-2s, and he's able to finally start stuffing the double leg against the fence. But Marcos Rogerio de Lima is already up 2 rounds at this point. But then in the third round, Waldo started landing some jabs and some 1-2s at range, and he's able to stuff the double legs, but then he eats some more leg kicks. Had a pretty good third round, but it didn't matter. Marcos Rogerio de Lima is very powerful, and yeah, he was the one that was landing those leg kicks. He got the takedowns when he needed to. But Waldo Cortez, you know, he looked okay. This is only his third fight in the UFC. Marcos has more fights than him. So he looked okay as a prospect. He can still surge. And, you know, a lot of decent learning experience from him. He just, you know, he just got caught with his leg kicks at range a lot and stifled his movement later on. Then at featherweight, third fight of the night, 145 pounds, Julian Erosa, Fernando Padilla. I'm on with Julian Erosa. I understood that Padilla hit pretty hard, and Erosa's coming off a devastating knockout to Alex Caceres, but I just thought Erosa would be able to get the takedown, get around his back, and threaten the rear naked choke and land some ground and pound, but yeah, didn't matter, man. Fernando Padilla, he was able to find that knockout early on. In the tape that I watched, he kind of got pieced up for the first round, and then he was able to land a big shot in the second round. So, yeah, I thought Erosa would be able to survive the first round, and the stoppage was pretty bad. That being said, though, Padilla did drop him already, so you can't really complain too much, honestly. But in the first round, Padilla was landing some counter jabs off of Julian, step in 1-2, and then a left hook. He rocks him with the left hook, and then he lands a 3-2 combination. Left hook, right cross. He's able to stuff the double leg attempt, and then he drops him with the right hook. And then Julian kind of falls back, and his knee kind of folds over, and he kind of falls over his knee. And then Tyone comes in and stops it, which I get it. The fall was bad. He should have let him keep going, but he did already get dropped at that point. So, yeah, you can't really complain too much. Maybe Padilla would have finished him anyway, but yeah, man, huge win for Padilla, coming in on short notice again, making his UFC debut. And I think Erosa is the more complete fighter, but he's just having chin problems at this point, which is unfortunate. But he looks so good against Hakeem Dawodu. It is what it is, man. That's how it goes sometimes, and I should have took that into account. Padilla, decent underdog, nothing crazy, but I think he was like plus 120, maybe plus 130. So, yeah, I just should have won with the underdog on that one. But, you know, that's kind of one of those things that kind of just happens in MMA from time to time. Featured fight of the night at middleweight, 185 pounds. Rodolfo Vieira taking on Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage, sizable underdog. And I just kind of thought he could get it done, man. Decent wrestling background. And, man, was I kind of close to winning that one, man. In the first round, Cody lands some hooks. Hook flurry. He rocks him pretty bad. Then he gets clinched up to the fence. But then Cody's able to break free, drops him with the right hook, right into half guard with the overhook. He's landing some shots, some short elbows, but he's not able to establish a dominant position on top, not able to go for that full mount. But Vieira, Jiu-Jitsu wizard, gets that deep half guard, and then he's able to get up with that, and then he gets the body lock trip, and then he takes his back, lands some ground and pound off of there, but I thought Cody did enough to win that first round, and he hurt him pretty bad. Then the second round, Vieira shoots a single to the fence, and then Cody pulls a guillotine right there, man. Brundage had some IQ issues I was worried about, and I should have known, man. Why? I don't understand why he would pull that guillotine, dude. He didn't need to. He hurt him pretty bad. He just could have separated and landed those big shots again, but pulls the guillotine. And then Vieira is able to get out, get in that arm triangle. Cody turns to his stomach, but then he goes to his back, and then he gets submitted. So, with that arm triangle. So, yeah, man, Cody Brundage, he just made a horrible mistake, and he hurt him pretty bad. Vieira, I think he could have got him out of there if he just would have stayed disciplined and separated and landed another one of those flurries. Maybe got on top of him, landed some ground and pound, but you cannot, like, go to the ground with Vieira just on a whim like that. And it's like, you better get that guillotine if you're going to pull guillotine off that. You're going to give up a position on your feet. You're going to give him the ground position. It just didn't make any sense for me. So, yeah, that was a tough one. I chased the underdog too much in that one, and, you know, Vieira is kind of undefeated on the ground. So, except unless your name's Fluffy Hernandez, then you can guillotine him. So, that was a tough one for me, but, you know, whatever, man. And then the co-main event at middleweight again, 185 pounds. Caio Borralho taking on Michael Oleksiejczuk. I'm with Caio Borralho. I know Oleksiejczuk is very dangerous in the first round, but I thought Borralho would be able to avoid those big shots and get him to the ground, get his back. That's pretty much how this fight went. In the first round, Caio is landing some jabs at range, and then Michael actually shoots from range, but he gets stuffed relatively easily. And then Caio landed a lead hook, shot a double to the fence. But then Caio lands a step-in cross in the pocket, and then he lands a straight flurry, but Caio was able to kind of block most of it. He gets clipped a little bit. But then Caio was able to land some counter body shots. He hits a pass by in the clinch position, and he takes his back at the end up against the fence. Doesn't do a whole lot with it, but you could certainly feel the momentum shift. Then the second round, Caio throws a 1-2. Throws 1-2s, misses most of them. And then Caio's feigning the jabs and the level changes at range. Then he's able to hit a blast double off the fence, takes his back, gets both hooks in, rear naked choke submission, just like clockwork. I just didn't think Caio would get the submission for whatever reason because he's had 3 decisions, but finally got that submission he'd been looking for. Caio is basically, I'm not going to say he's necessarily a one-round fighter, but it's kind of hard for it to sustain that pace over 3 rounds, and you couldn't get him out of there in the first round. So that's what happens. Very good, slick, smart performance from Caio against a dangerous opponent, and finally got a submission. So he'll probably be fighting a top 15 guy if they don't rank him 15. Let's see. At middleweight, Caio's probably gonna go up against, I would say, Andre Muniz and Caio Borralho. I think that's perfect. Muniz needs a win, and Caio Borralho needs to get in those rankings. So both 2 jiu-jitsu wizards, so I think that'd be a fun matchup. I think that's a perfect matchup for him. And then Michael Oleksiejczuk, I think he should just fight. He could fight Rodolfo Vieira. I think that would be a decent win, or decent situation for both guys. I think it'd be fun. And, you know, I think Vieira has a decent shot in that matchup. But on Jacek, he could take advantage of the damage he took against Brundage. So, you know, I think you could do that one. And it wouldn't be too far. The winner wouldn't be too far off from the rankings in that situation. Then the main event of the evening at 135 pounds, Song Yadong taking on Ricky Simone. This is a pretty big matchup. And yeah, for whatever reason, I was really high on Ricky Simone, so I went with him. Pretty close line. Ricky Simone, a slight favorite, minus 120 or something like that. So I just thought over the course of 5 rounds, I thought that favored Ricky. And I thought he'd be able to get him down eventually. And he really never could. And Ricky did a decent job at leaning back, getting out of range of most of the power shots and the kicks from Song Yadong, but Song Yadong just hits so damn hard. And it finally caught up to him. In the first round, Ricky landing a double jab and a right cross, clinch to the fence. He tries to find the body lock trip, can't get it though. Song, very good takedown defense. But then Song lands some body kicks and he looks for the counter hooks whenever Ricky shoots in on him. Then in the second round, Song, he lands the 1-2 and then hooks to the head, and they have like 1-2 and then hooks, and they have a head clash. And then Ricky goes down, tough one for him. But then Ricky's able to get the blast elbow, get him down. Can't really hold him down there very long. But then Ricky was able to land some jabs. And then Song was able to land them counter lead hooks though, kind of clipped Ricky a little bit. Didn't hit him full force, but Ricky could definitely feel that power. But then Ricky is able to get the blast double off a step-in hook attempt at the end there, but couldn't really do too much with it. Then in the third round, Ricky circles on the outside. He slide in, lands some jabs, and then he's able to land a couple to the body. But he was peppering Song with those jabs, but he really wasn't putting a whole lot of power behind them. There's really nothing for Song to respect there, so Song was able to keep moving in on him and taking territory. He was okay eating those jabs Ricky was giving him, but then Ricky jabs and then he shoots too far out, and then Song rocks him with the counter left hook off the jab, and then Ricky was able to lead back from a lot of the hooks and the kicks and circle on the outside. But he was just like, Song was able to find that one like decent shot pretty much every round. And then in the fourth round, Song rips the body and he's able to land some uppercuts. And then Ricky lands a single and he chain wrestles, shoots 2 more times. Song is able to his hips are so explosive, he's able to get out of there and circle out. And Ricky put 3 shots together essentially and couldn't get Song Yadong down, so that says a lot. And then Ricky's landing some jabs and some 1-2s. Then he leans back whenever Song throws, and then he gets clipped with a couple counter hooks there. And then Song drops him off a step-in jab right then there. It was a relatively close round, and then Ricky really tried to get in the pocket and hit him with a stiff jab, and then Song dropped him with that counter hook there right at the end there. And it was like literally the last second of the round, and he got dropped from there, and that's just something that like tactically didn't need to happen. And it just seemed like he didn't recover from that into the 5th round. Then the 5th round, Song lands the overhand over top of Ricky's jab, and then he drops him with a left hook counter off of his jab, and then he lands some ground and pound around his back. Ricky's getting up, and then Song drops him again from there, and then he gets the TKO victory from there. So, Ricky fought, he tried everything he could to get up at the end there, but Song Yadong's power is just too much, man. And it just goes to show how good Corey Sandhagen is, dude. Yeah. But yeah, dude, Song Yadong has arrived. I think he proved himself in this fight. And I thought he put up a hell of a performance against Corey Sandhagen. So, yeah, man, bantamweight's still interesting. But Song Yadong is on the upward trajectory. He said he wants to fight Marlon Vera next. I have no problem with that fight. I think that'd be great. He beat him by like a split decision a couple years ago. Pretty controversial. And Marlon Vera's at number 5. Song Yadong's at number 8. Marlon Vera's coming off a loss. Who knows what his mental's like. I think that's a perfect fight. I think that's a banger all day. I would like to see that. And then for Ricky Simone, he was at number 10. So, I think you give another guy a chance. They're talking about who Umar Nurmagomedov's going to fight. Maybe that'll be him, but I think they'll give Umar Nurmagomedov somebody off of a win. So maybe Song Yadong would fight Umar Nurmagomedov next. That'd be a banger as well. So, but yeah, Ricky Simon I think would take on Jonathan Martinez. I think that's a perfect fight because Martinez just, he squeaked by Saeed Nurmagomedov. So, if Jonathan Martinez is interested in climbing the rankings, number 10, Ricky Simon, I think that'd be a good one for him. Unless he wants to fight Umar Nurmagomedov. I don't know. There's the Umar Nurmagomedov sweepstakes. Who knows who's going to get that fight. But, yeah. Or you could do Song Yadong versus Rob Font. Not a bad one. I don't know. Bantamweight's just very interesting right now. But a lot of good options. I'm sure Ricky will be back. I think this kind of Song Yadong's coming out party. Nobody really understood how good he was and like what kind of victories he's capable of. He put on a good performance against Sandhagen. But yeah, man, he can get those victories and he can beat high-level guys. He can stop high-level takedowns. So bantamweight's very interesting. And then we got Aljamain and Cejudo this weekend for the title. So the weight class just keeps getting better. Well, thanks for riding with me. I appreciate it. Sorry again, but we got another chance this week. Gonna do my research like always. I'm just gonna focus on one fight at a time. Don't worry about the outside noise. Don't worry about the narrative of the card. Who do I think is gonna win relative to the odds? And I'm gonna place better bets, and we can get a good card. Thanks, everyone.